One of the shows that Jessica and I watch together is called Kings. It is a show that is a modern-day telling of the Saul and David story, their clash, their personality clash. Saul being the king at the time and David just being a member of his army. And during the story you see Saul at his greatest pinnacle, the king, the one who feels like he is in the place where he belongs and starting to be very worried about losing his place. During the course of the season, you see more and more that tenuous hold he has on his kingdom. But looking back at today's passage, the very beginning of Saul becoming king, you see that he wasn't always that confident. You see that he didn't always feel like he was the best of the best. He didn't always feel like he was the greatest of the greatest. As a matter of fact, he thought he was the worst of the worst. He said, "You know what tribe I'm from, right? I'm from Benjamin. Nobody would make somebody from the tribe of Benjamin king. That would just never happen." For those of you who have been looking at the book of Judges during the spring, you would know that it's Benjamin that was considered the worst of the worst, doing things that would be detestable to anybody else. Everybody else rose up against them and fought them and struck them down. But yet here he is, Saul, being called to be king of all Israel. The first king, after years of asking, God says, "Okay, you can have your king." Saul was a man who really did look the part. He was big in stature. He looked like a king. But when he came to Samuel, he didn't come with that attitude. He came to him and said, "Why is it that you want me? Why is it that you want me to be king? To gather all these people together under one human throne? It is God that we're supposed to be serving. We're in a theocracy, a God rule. Why is it that we need to change?" Sometimes people demand things and they really don't know what they're asking for. Samuel warned them in the previous chapter about all the dangers there were to calling a king. That people would be put into slavery, that their lands would be taken, that their children would die in war defending that king. But nonetheless, the people asked for it. The people asked for a king. They asked for what they wanted. And God said, "For now, you can have what you want. For now, I will give it to you." We see in the book of Acts, Stephen recalling Moses. Moses, a boy who was saved by being let down the Nile and becoming a prince of Egypt. And someone who ran away from all that authority, from all those riches, because he was scared. And Stephen recalls that God spoke to him from a bush and said, "You are going to lead my people." And just like Saul, Moses looks at him like he's crazy. How can you choose me? How can you choose me, an impulsive person? Someone who nobody would ever follow. Who nobody would ever want to listen to. But God used him. Thousands of years later, we are still reading the words given to Moses in Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. And God promises, as Stephen said, that there was a prophet like Moses that was going to come. Somebody who the people weren't going to want, but who the people were going to need. People asked for a king. They asked for Saul to be given to them. They didn't know there was going to be a Benjamite. And some of them, once they found out, may have thought that was awful. You can't choose somebody like that. You can't choose somebody from the tribe of Benjamin. The worst of the worst and the least of the least. And his family? How could you choose him? Anybody who knew Moses, anybody who knew what he did, how could that murderer be made in charge of us? But as I've said many times, God doesn't choose the best. He chooses who he wants to. God chooses people like you and like me so that he will be glorified, so that we don't take it for ourselves. It is for his honor that he takes the least of the least